It was a quiet evening at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. The halls were calm, the kind of stillness that only comes after visiting hours end. President Donald Trump moved through the corridor with two Secret Service agents, his visit unannounced, the press unaware. This wasn't for cameras. He had come to see the veterans, those recovering, those forgotten, those still fighting battles long after the war ended. As he stepped out of a patient's room, he passed a nurse standing beside a supply cart. She wore blue scrubs, her dark hair pulled into a loose, tired bun. Shadows clung beneath her eyes. Her badge read, Marina Lell, RN. Trump nodded politely and continued walking. Then she hesitated. Almost without thinking, she leaned forward and whispered, "Sir, I know I'm just a nurse, but I need to say something. For someone who can't." The agent stiffened. Trump stopped. He turned, surprised, studying her face. "Go ahead," he said quietly. Her voice trembled. "There's a patient in room 114B. He lost both legs in Afghanistan. He hasn't spoken in months. No family visits." She swallowed. "But when I read him your speeches, he smiles. Today he cried not because he was sad, but because he felt seen." The hallway fell silent. Trump blinked, absorbing her words. "What's his name?" "Specialist Dean Granger, sir." With a slow nod, Trump turned and walked toward room 114B. The room was dim, filled with the soft rhythm of machines. Dean Granger lay still, early 30s, pale, his gaze distant. His legs were gone beneath the blanket. His hands twitched faintly. At his sides, Trump approached the bed and sat down. "Dean?" he said. No words came, but Dean blinked twice. Marina stood quietly in the doorway. She mouthed, "He understands. I was told you served in Afghanistan," Trump said gently. "You gave this country everything. And I want you to know it hasn't gone unnoticed." Dean's eyes filled with tears. On the bedside table lay a journal. Trump opened it. The pages were filled with notes written by others' nurses. Therapist. Read Lincoln today. Played Johnny Cash. He smiled when I read Trump's 4th of July speech. He raised his thumb. Mel. Trump closed the journal. "That nurse of yours," he said softly, "she believes in you. I do too." A single tear slid down Dean's cheek. Trump reached into his coat, removed the pin from his lapel, and placed it beside the bed. Then he stood. As he passed Marina, he paused. "You did the right thing." She didn't know it yet, but everything had just changed. That night, Trump couldn't sleep. The silent soldier lingered in his thoughts. So did the nurse. Her voice steady, not seeking attention, only hope. The next morning, he asked for Dean Granger's file. Inside was a handwritten letter, written before Dean lost his ability to speak. "If I go silent, let someone speak for me. If I can't stand, let someone stand beside me. If I lose everything, remind me I still matter." Trump stared at the words for a long time. "Do we know the nurse's name?" he asked. "Marina Lell, 3 years at Walter Reed, volunteers with veterans on weekends." Trump nodded. "I want to do something for her, quietly." Marina's next shift began like any other. Coffee, rounds, quiet work. She stepped into Dean's room. He was awake, focused. More alert than she'd ever seen him. "Good morning, soldier," she said. Dean slowly lifted his hand and gave a strong thumbs up. Her breath caught. "That's the strongest I've seen yet." He pointed to the table. A note rested there. "You? Matter. Keep fighting." Her hands shook. Moments later, the intercom sounded. "Nurse Marina Lell, please report to administration." When she arrived, a woman in a dark suit greeted her. "I'm with the office of the president," she said kindly. Your whisper was heard. By noon, news vans lined the street. But this wasn't a scandal. It was something rarer. Marina never sought the spotlight. She turned off her phone, returned to her patients. In the break room, she found a letter on White House stationery. "Sometimes the quietest voices carry the most truth. Thank you for standing for someone who couldn't." DJTSHE sat down and cried. She had become a nurse because she couldn't save her brother Marine Corporal Nathan Lell, killed in Fallujah at 22. She touched his photo inside her locker. "I wish you could see this." "Mate," the interview aired the next day. I didn't whisper. "Because he was the president," Marina said softly. I whispered because someone was being forgotten. Millions watched. And in room 114B, something changed. One quiet morning, Marina entered Dean's room to find therapists gathered nearby. "Watch this," one said, with a harness supporting him. Dean pulled himself upright, his arms trembled. His face tightened with effort, but he stood. Marina gasped, tears spilling. Dean looked at her, then slowly raised his hand and saluted. The room erupted in cheers. Someone captured the moment. On video, a silent soldier standing tall, because one nurse dared to whisper. Within hours, the video was everywhere. Veteran stands for first time in 2 years after nurse's whisper reaches the president. Even the president reposted it, writing, "This is what hope looks like. Proud of you, Dean. Proud of you, Nurse Marina." For once, America wasn't arguing. They were watching something real. That night, Marina returned home exhausted. In her mailbox sat a plain envelope with no return address, only her name written in uneven letters, surrounded by crayon hearts. Inside was a note. "Dear Nurse Marina, my daddy can't talk because of the war. I read your story to him and he smiled. Thank you for being brave. I want to be a nurse too. Love, Ellie." Tucked inside was a drawing. A nurse holding hands with a soldier, a small girl standing nearby, a heart floating above them. Marina sank onto her couch and cried. She posted the letter with a single caption: "This is why we whisper, for those who can't speak and for those who need to see hope." By morning, the post had gone viral. Teachers shared it in classrooms. Nursing students quoted it in essays. Late-night hosts mentioned her not as a celebrity, but as a reminder of quiet courage. The attention made Marina uncomfortable, but Ellie's letter reminded her that whispered stories plant seeds, and sometimes they grow in the hearts of children. The next day, Marina was called to the hospital auditorium. She expected a routine meeting. Instead, she saw flags, cameras, staff lining the aisles. President Trump stepped to the podium. "We often honor those who wear uniforms," he said, "but today we honor someone who wore blue scrubs and carried out a different kind of mission." He turned. "Nurse Marina Lell, would you join me?" Frozen, she stepped forward. From a velvet box, he lifted a gold pin. "This is the Presidential Volunteer Service Award with distinction. You didn't ask for recognition. You didn't need a stage, but you gave someone their voice back." As he pinned it to her uniform, Marina whispered, "Thank you for listening." He whispered back, "Thank you for speaking." The room erupted in applause. Nearby, Dean Granger, watching from his wheelchair, raised his hand and saluted her once more. That image would play on televisions for days. For Marina, it simply felt like closure. Despite the honor, Marina returned to her regular shifts, cleaning wounds, holding hands, working weekends at the veterans' shelter. "Why don't you take a few days off?" her supervisor asked. She shook her head. "They still need me." That night, a new patient arrived, Specialist Tara King, fresh from combat, lost inside. Severe PTSD. She wouldn't speak, wouldn't eat, wouldn't meet anyone's eyes except Marina's. Night after night, Marina sat beside her, reading softly poetry, letters from soldiers, even Ellie's crayon note. On the third night, Tara whispered, "You're her." The whisper nurse, Marina smiled. "I'm just someone who stayed." Tara reached out and took her hand. Sometimes the most powerful thing isn't a title or a speech. It's showing up again and again. That week, volunteer applications at the hospital rose by 15%, because when people see courage in scrubs, they want to follow. Letters began arriving, hundreds of them. Then thousands. Veterans, families, soldiers overseas. One read, "I haven't been hugged since my last deployment. After seeing your story, my daughter hugged me for the first time in years." Retired SGT Paul Ramirez, another, said, "I wanted to end my life last month. After watching your story, I decided to try again." Anonymous Marina read them during lunch breaks, replying when she could. She created a bulletin board in the Veterans Wing titled "Whispers That Echo." Families stopped to read. Visitors shared their own stories. Veterans who hadn't spoken in months began to open up. A whisper had become a movement. One evening, her phone rang. "Is this Marina Lell?" A man asked softly. "Yes, my name is Peter Granger." Dean's father. She stood. I hadn't heard from my son in 2 years, he said, voice breaking. Yesterday, he called. He couldn't speak, but he tried. And he held the phone, like he didn't want to let go. Marina closed her eyes. You believed in him, Peter said. And that changed everything. No award ever meant more. Inspired, Marina created the Whisper Project, a simple idea. Volunteers recorded short messages of hope and sent them to recovering veterans nationwide. The first day brought 89 recordings within a week, over 2,000 voices. I haven't heard kindness like that since Iraq, one patient whispered. Marina never monetized it, never promoted herself. She just kept building quietly. A whisper had become a chorus. One afternoon, while cleaning a storage room, Marina found a box labeled unclaimed-2011. Inside a purple heart. The veteran's name was Charles McHenry. No next of kin. That weekend, Marina found his grave and placed the medal gently on the stone. You are remembered, she whispered. A passerby took a photo. By Monday, the VA announced Project Honor Return, a national effort to locate and return every unclaimed medal, because one nurse refused to let silence be the final word. Months later, Marina walked into room 114B. Dean looked up, smiled, and whispered, "Hi." She froze. "Hi," he said again, weak but clear. "I heard every word. Thank you for being my voice." She sat beside him, holding his hand. Outside, a flag flew at half-mast. Inside, life was returning. Years passed. One morning, a shy nursing student joined the staff. Marina welcomed her. "Why nursing?" she asked. The student smiled. "Because of a story about a nurse who whispered to a president. That whisper made my dad smile again." She pointed to a man in a wheelchair nearby. It was Ellie's father, her name badge read E. Miller, nursing intern. The whisper had found its way forward. On a quiet evening long after retirement, Marina stood before a classroom of young nurses. She didn't give a speech. She said only this: speak when others can't, stay when others leave, and always whisper with purpose. The room fell silent. And somewhere a whisper continued to echo.